Dear friends, welcome to this talk. Today's topic is God's embrace. Many years ago, 50 years ago, I was a new priest, and I was with a group of young people in Argentina and university students. And one book came out that called my attention because the title was very special. The title of the book was The God I Don't Believe In. A God we don't believe in. What's that? And it was a beautiful book because it mentioned about the wrong ideas that we have about God and how those ideas are embedded in our traditions for centuries, some of them, embedded in our catechesis. And so, the God I don't believe in accompanied me somehow during these 50 years of my priesthood. And always coming back and asking, do we still believe in a God that does not exist? So, for that, we have to find what is the true face of God. And we can only find the face of God in Jesus. He's the one showing us the face of the Heavenly Father, the only one. We will try to find out the God that Jesus reveals to us in today's parable. You see, we all have memories and we all have experience that comes a time when the memory of the cell phone or the hard disk in the computer is full or almost full, and we cannot introduce new data, new files. So first we have to clean and make a space. The same happens with our image of God, our understanding of God. As it happened with the scribes and the Pharisees, it can also happen to us. We can say we already know. We were already told what to believe. But that is not what we learned in catechesis. So many other etc., so many other things, excuses that we give. And the wrong image of God has unfortunately accompanied us for a long time. In the words of Pope Francis, we need to rediscover the joy of the gospel. How to do that? We will do that looking at Jesus' teaching today. So today is the famous parable that Jesus told in chapter 15 of Luke, the three characters and the protagonist of the parable. The usual title that we find in our Bibles may mislead us because it says the parable of the prodigal son. We ask, is he the protagonist? He is not. The protagonist is the father. So we have a third character, and that is the main character. It is the Father. It is on this character that Jesus wants us to focus our attention because he is the figure of the God of Jesus of Nazareth, or the Heavenly Father. The main purpose for which Jesus has told this parable is to get out of the mind of the scribes and Pharisees that idolatrous image of God. Is what we have invented about God, which does not resemble the Heavenly Father, the image that Jesus gave us. So now we have a problem because the Pharisees and the scribes, they no longer exist. So the parable is addressed to us today. Because the God that so many Christians believe in today still retains many characteristics of the God of the Pharisees. The God that is law-giving, the God that judges us, the God that rewards us. We have to get a lot of merit so that God can reward us. A punishing God. If we do something wrong, God will punish us. But guess what? This is not the God of Jesus. So today we are introduced to this parable. Let me read for it. By this time, a lot of men and women of doubtful reputation were hanging around Jesus, listening intently. The Pharisees and religion scholars were not pleased, not at all pleased. They growled, "He takes in sinners and eats meals with them, treating them like old friends." Their grumbling triggered this story. Then Jesus said, "There was once a man who had 2 sons. The youngest said to the father, 'Father, I want right now what is coming to me.' So the father divided the property between them. It wasn't long before the younger son packed his bags and left for a distant country. There, undisciplined and dissipated, he wasted everything he had. After he had gone through all his money, there was a bad famine all through that country, and he began to hurt. He sightened, and with a citizen there who assigned him his fields to slop the pig. He was so hungry, he would have eaten the corn cobs in the pig slop, but no one would give him any. That brought him to his senses. He said, "All those farm hands working for my father sit down to 3 meals a day, and here I am starving to death. I am going back to my father. I will say to him, 'Father, I have sinned against God. I have sinned before you. I don't deserve to be called your son. Take me on as a hired hand.'" He got right up and went home to his father. It is the wrong image of the father. It is the wrong image that this young man had on the face of God. God is seen as a boss, father, an antagonist of freedom and joy. He won't let me do what I think is right. Here we have a whole catechesis presented incorrectly. It is the one that shows God as a boss, has the right to give orders. So whoever fulfills the orders given by God, he blesses them, and whoever transgresses them is punished. You know that much of the catechesis that we have received has been done in this way, sadly. When you leave the Father's house, when you turn away from God, you deceive yourself that you are becoming a free man, a free person, a superman, a superwoman. From being the God of yourself, you fall into the hands of new masters who force you to work. And even in the end, you end up being ashamed of yourself with disgusting actions, unworthy of a person. So we can ask the question, is this boy repentant of what he did? No. In his words, there is no sign of a realization that he has made a mistake. The only problem he has is to find a way to satisfy his hunger. If only another scoundrel like him had come along and said, "Look, I have money," he would have had no problem. He would forget again and continue trusting those idols that have betrayed him. There is no sign that he regrets what he did. When it is said, "You have sinned, you have made a mistake," ask God for forgiveness. If you ask Him for forgiveness because you have realized that you have made a mistake, He forgives you. He does not punish you. But if you don't ask Him for forgiveness, then you will suffer the consequences and punishment. Have you not heard about that? So, similar words. This is the wrong catechesis. It's to put a mask in the face of God. means that we have not understood. And many Christians today are still here. We have not understood that the face of God is not that. That the face of the God of the Pharisees and scribes and Pharisees, it was exactly like that. But the face of the God of Jesus of Nazareth is the one who always forgives you. Is the one who loves you unconditionally, even if you are the unruly son or daughter. But here is what happens. When you realize this love, then you understand that you have gone astray, and you abandon yourself in the arms of his Father. You give him complete confidence and understand that you can be happy only by accepting his love. This is the prodigal son. We'll talk a little more later. So now what happens? Now we go to the protagonist of this parable, the father. When he was still a long way off, his father saw him, his heart pounding. He ran out, embraced him, and kissed him. The son started his speech. Father, I have sinned against God. I have sinned before you. I don't deserve to be called your son ever again. But the father wasn't listening. He was calling to his servants, quick, bring a clean set of clothes and dress him. Put the family ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Then get a grain-fed heifer and roast it. We are going to feast. We are going to have a wonderful time. My son is here, given up for death and now alive, given up for lost and now found. And they began to have a wonderful time. The features of the God of Jesus of Nazareth are perfectly traced in this figure of the Father. He presents his reaction to the return of his son with 5 verbs. We'll examine them because there will be a reason for us to verify if we really believe in God, or if we still have in mind the image of God that the scribes and Pharisees had. The first verb, while he was still a long way off, his father caught sight of him. The father never looked away from that horizon, patiently waiting for his return. This is not the gaze of the God of the scribes and Pharisees. The God of the scribes and Pharisees is the lawgiver God, who then says with the gaze to control, who does what he has commanded, and who transgresses his commandments to reward or punish. This God is still worshipped in many Christians today who feel wage earners and expect their pay at the end of the day. Why you treat me like that, God? You know, I've done so much for you. Why do you do this to me? But God is not this one. He is not the God of Jesus of Nazareth. He's not the one with the look that was painted in that. You remember that triangle? A triangle that has an eye here in the middle. Be careful. God is watching you. Don't do anything wrong. God knows. God will punish you. God sees all the time. Be careful. No, that is not the God of Jesus. This is the look of the God of the scribes and Pharisees. The look of the God of Jesus of Nazareth is only a look of love. that always accompanies the son, the daughter, when he does good, and especially when he leaves the path of life to return him to the path of joy. The second verb, he was filled with compassion. It is a word that, special word the Bible uses. And it means not compassion of the heart, bowels. It's a mother's feeling, it's a maternal womb. It's the feeling of the mother for the little child. She will do anything. That is the compassion that God has for everyone. Third, he ran. You can picture him, he's an old man, but he's not reasoning anymore. His head is closed, so to say. He is full of emotions in his gut. He starts to run. It's dangerous. If he stumbles, he falls. The one who loves doesn't care what people say. He acts by listening to his heart. Fourth verb, he embraced him, God's embrace. He was running, and at a certain point he just couldn't take it anymore because he had run as far as he could. And actually the meaning is, the father fell upon his son's neck. He just fell and embraced him. Fifth verb, he kissed him. It's better translation to say, he could not stop kissing him, and he didn't ask if he was sorry or not. He's his son, always. He doesn't care, the father doesn't care if he's sorry or not. He doesn't want to hear him ask for forgiveness, no. So the father interrupts him, because he doesn't even want to hear his son introduce himself as a servant. He does not ask him as if he has repented, he has asked for forgiveness. Think about that. How many, let's call pious and devout people, consider themselves hirelings, servants, who are waiting at the end of the day for the reward. Lord, I have done my part, now you have to pay me. I deserve a reward. I have built up my merits. Merits do not count for anything for God. Merits count for the God of the Pharisees and the scribes. And when it is mentioned to this group of Christians that God will give the joy of the entrance into his home to all, many get angry because they say, but I have behaved well, and therefore that other one who has misbehaved must be punished. You feel like a believer professing your faith, not in the face of the God of Jesus of Nazareth, but in the God that I have in mind the scribes and the Pharisees. So let's see what the father says. First of all, quickly bring the finest robe and put it on him. In the Bible, the robe is a symbolic meaning. It indicates who a person is. And here is the robe that makes you like the Father. You are not a servant. You are not an employee. You are the son of the master of the house. Think about that. You are a child of God. Second, put a ring on his finger. It is not just any ring. It's not a wedding ring. It is the seal. You see, before they used in the ring, they had the seal, the boss, the owner. So with that, we put in a document that is like the signature. Okay? It guarantees that you are the house owner, that you can dispose of all your father's property. It is a checkbook, blank, that you have. So the father says to him, handing him a ring. Everything that is mine is yours. Put sandals on his feet. Because God doesn't want servants. He wants sons and daughters. At the time, the servants, the slaves, were barefooted. And God doesn't want to see people barefoot. He makes this son understand that he always remained a son. His conscience was telling him that he was satisfied being a servant. No, you have always been his son or daughter. How many times when a person has gone astray in life, he's afraid of this God. He's afraid to come back because they think that God may be angry, that he will look at you with strange eyes. No, he will still love you because you are always his son. And then he said, take the fattened calf and slaughter it. And the feast began. Heaven is feast. We are all invited there. So now comes the third character of this story, the prodigal son's brother. All this time, his older son was out in the field. When the day's work was done, he came in. As he approached the house, he heard the music and dancing. Calling over one of the house boys, he asked what was going on. He told him, your brother came home. Your father has ordered a feast, barbecued beef, because he has him home safe and sound. The older brother stalked off in an angry sulk and refused to join in. The father came out and tried to talk to him, but he wouldn't listen. The son said, look, how many years I have stayed here serving you, never giving you any moment of grief. But have you ever thrown a party for me and my friends? Then this son of yours, who has thrown away your money on horse, shows up, and you go all out with a feast. His father said, son, you don't understand. You are with me all the time, and everything that is mine is yours. But this is a wonderful time, and we had to celebrate. This brother of yours was dead, and he's alive. He was lost, and he is found. You see, maybe we can identify with this elder brother. The elder brother does not understand free partying. Party must be deserved. The free and unconditional love of God is not understood even by many Christians today who continue to worship that image of God, which is that of the scribes and Pharisees. In telling the parable, Jesus did not find it difficult to make us identify with the younger son, because it often happens to us that we move away from the Father's house, that we reason with our head, that we don't trust His word. So we go away from Him, and then we find ourselves faulty, and we go back to the Father's house. But Jesus finds it more difficult to remove from our heads the image of God, which is that of the scribes and Pharisees, the God who rewards and punishes. This is the reason why He presents us with the figure of the elder brother who reproduces the exact behavior of the scribes and the Pharisees. And this is also the case of many Christians today who continue to worship this God. The elder son becomes furious. He does not accept an undeserved feast. It should not be free, he says. Whoever works deserves it, and he doesn't want to enter the party. At this now the father appears. So let us pay attention now to what the eldest son says. He does not feel that he is the father's son. He's a servant, exactly like the scribes and Pharisees who are servants. Servants who are rewarded according to their obedience or their transgressions of the law. Isn't this the position of many Christians today still find themselves in this situation? They do not feel that they are freely loved sons and daughters of God. They think that they are servants. For so many years I never transgressed none of your commandments. And of course, naturally, if now they hear about a free feast, they protest. I who have tried so hard. You are the scribes and the Pharisees. You are not a Christian. The eldest son reacts precisely as we do, with the criteria of justice that we have. We have this image of God that we have created, and it's an idol. Because we have invented it and we make him reason like us. So again, this is not the God of Jesus of Nazareth. This is not the God of Jesus of the Gospel. The God of the scribes and the Pharisees and many Christians is the one who does not organize a free banquet. You must merit it. You must pay for it. You must go to the cashier and pay to be able to enter the feast. No. The God of Jesus of Nazareth is the God gratuitous. So now we also realize that the parable is not finished. We can ask ourselves, did the elder son finally enter the party? Yes, he comes into the party because he must do what the father wants. He must obey. But he will not be convinced. And this is exactly what happens to so many Christians today, that when they hear the presentation of the face of God of Jesus of Nazareth, they say, yes, he is the one who loves gratuitously and unconditionally to all, and therefore the one who makes all feel like brothers and sisters, even to those who make mistakes in life. And therefore we must be angels who bring back these children to the Father's house. So we enter the feast, but we still worship that righteous God according to our criteria. So in many cases we are the elder son. But then we are also the younger son. We know very well what happens with the younger children, that when they come home after making a mistake, they still think that they want to go out. Then they are unhappy and go back to the Father's house. I invite you to take advantage of the many resources available on the internet. And for a better listening and living of the Word, you can see BibleClaret.org. BibleClaret.org. And you can subscribe also to our many programs, all for free. You can send an email to claretonline1@gmail.com. Shalom. God bless you.